One of the challenges of current reality is that we just don't see the fullness of the picture. We just don't see the wholeness of what's really going on. We're able to see a little biased component of what's going on. We see in the business that the candidate is not performing well in the hiring position. What we don't see is that 5 months later, the candidate that we hire out of firing that one is pretty much doing the same thing that the previous candidate did, and yet we start looking again at the people. So we all have assumed ways in which we kind of trigger ourselves on reality. And we get locked into a very, very fixed way of thinking about what's going on instead of opening our eyes to the larger playing field of what's really going on. And this is a key place for entrepreneurs to very much get better at creating solutions, creating angles, approaching things in their business from a much more larger holistic view in how the interdependent elements in their business, when they're combined, start to produce a cause and effect relationship that creates unintended consequences. So what that says is that despite all of our intentions as leaders, we might be creating things, creating results that we absolutely don't want despite our best intentions, because of the structures from which we start to form our change processes. Our change efforts are just outlawed and ambushed because of these systems and patterns from which they just inevitably end up in certain places. One of those is problem solving. Is that in meetings, most of the time, when I step in to hear them, it's mostly about getting rid of unwanted circumstances. If you listen to the meetings, it's like we're in here to creatively problem solve, and we almost take pride in just finding solutions to the problems. Let's look at the problems, and let's look at the problems. And we have all this reactive behavior going on, and all of our efforts are organized around the problems. But what we don't see is that we get fixed on solutions that actually worsen the problem instead of curing them or making sustainable change. So we take action to remove the problem symptom goes away, right? That situation kind of stops because we're taking action to solve it. And then the habits to keep it away stop too because the problem's gone. And then the original condition starts to migrate its way back in. And so over a period of time, there really is no point A to point B movement. There's this oscillating pattern that sort of swings forward with some temporary triumph, and then just the system tends to bring it right back. Because unless we hold that habit, unless we hold that place to keep removing the unwanted circumstances, we're never going to get rid of it. And we just don't do that. It's just the energy goes away in that system. It dissipates. So since the energy dissipates, the symptom tends to come right back. And like I said, we don't see that behind the front setting. We don't see the bedrock from which the topsoil exists. We just deal with the topsoil. Why? Well, because we're too busy being busy to do something that could make us a lot less busy. We can't really get to the fundamental complexity of the problems because it's so incessantly frenetic in the situation anyway that there seems to be too many perceived consequences to really slowing down enough to get to the underlying causes of root issues. We'd rather have the same problem solved 23 different times instead of taking more time to solve it fundamentally forever. So we have to get out of this problem-solving swing. What would be the alternative? Well, rather than problem-solving, maybe we come at it more on offense, such as what really matters to us right now. What are the results that are most important to our team? What do we really want to create? And fundamentally coming from a place of intrinsic desires and that kind of generative love from which we organize action. What happens to the problems most often is that we outgrow them. The problems suddenly are solved organically as a result of focusing on a much larger, bigger, or more superior path. A system from which things can resolve in our favor and advance rather than, shift back and forth like a rocking chair. We fundamentally put solutions and put action in place that will support itself and then create a platform for more creating and more momentum and so forth. So everything we reach in this way of fundamentally approaching the creative process is things will continue to stay in this sort of creating business rather than this problem-solving business. A very fundamental shift in which we organize our actions and how we organize our teamwork.